if with mice, let's say somebody says it triples life, you need another 10 years just to reproduce.
Yes, these guys grow up, have kids, get old, and die all within about 1 month.
And they have like a beating heart, brain, immunity system. So they, in a way, they're much closer to humans than the Elegan worms.
Exactly, the key cell types are quite similar.
Today I'm visiting Harvard Medical School, Brain and Heart of Anti-Aging Research. I'm going to talk with my friend Leon about his longevity drug testing acceleration program.
All right, so the big problem we have in the longevity field is slow progress. Basically finding any special molecules that would accelerate the development of new drugs. It takes forever to find and test anything. We have that Miller's lab, which does a great job on mice, but it takes, 3 years just to test one thing.
And it's not for a shortage of candidate molecules. There are millions and millions of molecules which potentially would be beneficial. We would like to test, but it's just very difficult, expensive.
So what we all could do better is to have like a funnel, which we could pre-test something before we test maybe in mice or in humans. Right, we want to make it as soon as possible to get some data, because, like as I said, there are millions of drugs which can be tested in combinations, and combination with diet, with temperature, with circadian rhythms, with so many things to test, which we don't know, which can potentially...
Exactly, and there are many questions about translational value of such drugs. You could easily find some drug which works in fish or mice and doesn't work in people. In fact, there are many such examples of cancer drugs.
Yep.
There's this famous saying, "I have great news for the mice in the audience. We found a drug that cures cancer in mice." However, we also have many examples to the contrary, where if you think, what do you do when your pet is ill? You go to veterinarian, they use drugs developed for human. They adjust the dosage, but many drugs, I don't know about depression, but many drugs about inflammation, painkillers, many other drugs, cardiac drugs, work in other animals. Many processes are widely conserved throughout species. So definitely if we have easy species to work with, it's a nice place to start to widely screen drugs. Then those drugs could be taken into mice and monkeys and people.
Yeah, so there is no doubt that more data is better than less data. Right?
Exactly.
And again, just to say why you do what you do, is that mice, however good or bad the model is, it takes very long time.
It takes a long time. It is very expensive to do so-called husbandry, to house, feed, look after those animals. But even if all of that was free, if you just imagine what it would cost to purchase drugs necessary for such experiment, you would have to purchase truckloads of drugs.
Yeah, and usually they're very expensive at the early stages.
Early stages of development. I had somebody come up to me and say 1 gram of this drug costs $50,000 to synthesize. We cannot possibly test that in mice. Could you test this elsewhere in Daphnia?
Yeah, and especially if you want to distribute all this testing to all the enthusiasts or all the labs which have some spare time, it should be easy reproducible model to work with, and mice is just not that.
Yes, exactly. There is a Wikipedia worry. A worry that if you outsource, if you crowdsource drug testing, you will end up with a lot of trash data. However, Wikipedia has taught us that if you organize crowdsourcing right, there is a self-correction process.
Yeah, because you can populate the same tests on top of each other.
Exactly. If tomorrow somebody publishes amazing result that this or that drug triples the life of Daphnia, obviously people gonna jump on it and verify.
And try to reproduce it,
Reproduce.
And they don't need to wait 5 years, because if with mice, let's say somebody says it triples the life, right? You need another 10 years just to reproduce.
Yes, these guys grow up, have kids, get old, and die all within about 1 month.
And they have like a beating heart, brain, immunity system. So they, in a way, they're much closer to humans than see Elegan worms, like by
exactly. The key cell types are quite similar. Those are invertebrates, but they have brains, eyes, a beating heart. Innate immunity was discovered in Daphnia. And
just because they're transparent, you can see.
Exactly, they're beautifully transparent. And if you take electron microscopy images of Daphnia cells, some of this would be indistinguishable from homologous tissues and cell types in mice. What is worth mentioning is that there are several papers where we compare what a particular drug does back to back in Daphnia and in mice. And we nicely show sort of phenohomology. For example, rapamycin, when given early in life, delays growth and development in Daphnia and mice alike. And then you take rapamycin away and you see that still it has small but statistically significant effect, extends the lifespan.
Yeah, which is that's a lot of promise in that.
We are writing up now a different paper where we tried several drugs, again, in mice and Daphnia, in order to see that you could rapidly and cheaply test drugs in Daphnia, and hopefully most of the effects will translate to mice, at least.
And as far as I understand, they're pretty easy to grow at home in any like simple aquarium or even plastic cup.
It costs nothing. So this is my pet tank. It's a vase, and I just keep this on the windowsill.
Yep, I see them.
They eat algae, which is multiplied in sunlight, and I just have to add some clear water
once
every couple of weeks.
Okay, yeah. So
they just dancing happily.
So do we have a plan, Mr. Holmes? Where do we want to get all this? As far as I understand, it's just a prototype at this moment, which we can take in different directions, right?
We're developing multiple prototypes from sort of industrial scale, which would allow a company to set up giant drug testing operation, to individual enthusiasts who would just test a couple of drugs on the windowsill in the kitchen. So we're developing instructions. Daphnia are very easy to obtain and to maintain. So it's essentially play at home kind of manual. If you know what male chemistry is, where they send you once a month some chemistry experiment to do with your child, we're developing similar kind of instructions for people to play at home and hopefully generate some useful data.
Okay, so a big company can kind of invest into this in the technology to, like that you said, like 50,000 for a gram, and do it 10 times, 100 times cheaper, right? It's like initial testing.
Exactly. It's about sophistication. So at home, you could just see how long this guy's lived with and without drug.
Okay.
But there are many more sophisticated tests that you could conduct in order to see how much they eat, how well they reproduce, how well they react to stimuli, they react to light. Look, when we all read about what it means to take a life-extending drug, it's a theory. You get completely different feeling for this experimentation and how to interpret the results if you actually get any pill that you're taking already, be it painkiller or metformin or any other drug, crush it, dilute to different dosage, apply to these organisms and see what it does to how active they are, how long they live. You actually develop very good intuition for what drugs do, how do drugs work.
Yeah, and how much bullshit we have in published papers. And what can be done to improve all that.
Exactly.
So is that some kind of central database where all the results are going to be collected or getting collected as of today?
Honestly, we haven't worried about the central database for new incoming data just yet. We have done and published results experimenting with several drugs using our version of the system, but literally, we tried getting these guys some coffee and some vodka. That was just proof of principle, but it's not like we have a giant database with results or expecting results to start rolling in by the dozen.
But there is a proof of concept. You've built you tested some drugs, there are some published results.
Exactly. The platform itself is published. It is a more sophisticated version, which you would not want to try at home because it involves expensive camera and various gadgets. But the platform is published and initial results are published.
What about cheaper at-home platform? Is it also done and ready to be used? Or, like, again, if I want to try tomorrow, is there a list of materials I need to buy?
We have the first version of these instructions, and I think by the time this video is published, we will probably have released those instructions.
Okay, awesome. So let's say if I'm just a person who want to contribute have fun with those organisms, but contribute to longevity, I can build such kits at home.
There are many ways for you to contribute, right? First, you could help develop educational, accessible instructions to run these tests. Second, you could get involved and actually get some Daphnia and run some tests according to those instructions. Finally, you could help develop more advanced testing. For example, you could help develop scripts which would process videos taken by smartphone as part of those health span tests.
Okay, so when the health they move and you can film that and then use that video.
There are a bunch of challenges for programmers, for engineers, for biologists, and we have a list of challenges.
Is there at least public available?
Yes.
If I want to help tomorrow, or I watch this video, say yes, cool, I want to help. Where do
we
I
have
go?
A homepage for this project where many challenges are listed, and we constantly add more.
Okay, so I'm going to have it in the description, so everyone who wants to take a peek, please do so. And here you are. We all wait, we'll hope that they, whoever they are, will slow or reverse the aging for us. But the thing is, there are no they. We are all in the same boat, which is unfortunately slowly sinking. And you can encourage the sailor who's pumping the water out, you can complain that the pump is too slow, you can ignore the situation altogether, or you can get the bailing bucket and help, and nudge your friends to do the same. Aging is just a stupid evolutionary disease, and you can learn more about it in this video. But with your help, we can find the cure in our lifetime. So just stay active, engage, share this message, because remember, knowledge is not the real power, action is.